Hi, welcome to the Aruba OS 8.3 how-to video series. This is going to be video number 14 in the 15 video series that walks through the setup and configuration of an Aruba OS 8.3 Mobility Master. Now in the previous two videos we set up a PSK-based SSID and a .1x SSID. We're going to set up in this video a guest SSID, but we're not going to get too in-depth. We're not going to use ClearPass or anything like that because that requires some extra steps that'll take a little bit longer. But the general framework in setting up a guest SSID is still more or less the same regardless of how you set it up. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and add the guest network to the global side. And so as before, I'm going to go ahead and create another named VLAN at each level, just so that we kind of establish named VLANs are a great way to go in terms of tracking across different campuses that have different layer 2 networks, a single unified way to structure the config. So I'll go ahead and say this is the global guest SSID, and I will copy it this time. And we'll just leave this in VLAN 1 for now because it's at the global level just like before. I'm going to go ahead and apply that change so it replicates down to the other nodes. And then I will go to campus A and do the exact same thing. I'm going to create global guest, except now it's going to be in VLAN 200. Now remember, it's just the lab setup where I have a single VLAN for each campus, but you could have 10 or 20 or 30 different VLANs that you wanted to add here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and apply the change. And I will go to campus B2, do the exact same thing, except now it's going to be VLAN 150 and hit submit. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy those changes. So I've got a named VLAN to use for my SSID. Now I'm going to go to WLAN and I'm going to create a global guest SSID. And again, this will be the SSID. You can call it whatever you want. It doesn't have to match the named VLANs. Remember, we need to apply it to at least one AP group, so we'll just leave it in the default. I'll hit next. Oops, I need to go back one. This is a guest SSID. So when you choose guest, this actually enables a different workflow as you go across. That's why that's there. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the named VLAN global guest SSID. Hit next. Now this is where it starts to ask some of the questions that you would need when you're configuring a captive portal for a guest SSID. Now you could certainly excuse me, leave it as no captive portal. It's just an SSID that's open, and it lets anyone connect to it. You can also have an internal captive portal that's housed on the Aruba controller, and it's just basically an accept the terms and conditions. And if you go this route, it essentially kind of looks like this. I can create different text like, "Are you sure?" and hit OK. I can click on the drawing up here and I can choose different colors. Maybe I like my company colors are more like blue, and maybe I want to add some custom HTML. Maybe I want to create some welcome text that says welcome to the Aruba OS 8.3 demo. Hit OK. All right, so this is what the captive portal page should look like. I should get a little terms of acceptance there. I can preview this. If I click the preview button, this is essentially what the captive portal page would look like. I know it's not much to look at, but it's not meant to be very complex. It's supposed to be pretty simple and work on every device. There are other options you can select. For example, you could force them to at least enter an email address, or you could do internal captive portal with authentication. So you could point them at a Radius server or the internal database of the controllers, so that they would have to enter a username and a password. And then finally, you can point them to a ClearPass server and a CPPM page. So there's other bits of information that you would have to get from your ClearPass server, but we'll stick with this right here. Or actually, let's just go with this. This will be fine. And so we'll have to enter some kind of email address. The nice thing about forcing an email address is, one, you can capture it in syslog for any type of guest registration that you want to track to do mail collateral to or whatever. It also gives each user when they log in a unique name. Now there's no way to force recognition of that email address. I could use anything that we want. If you use email registration with ClearPass, you can put some validation steps inside that workflow. So we're going to leave it here and hit next. Now this default role gets created by default as part of the wizard. So I'm going to go ahead and hit finish. And then I'm going to apply these changes. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record a separate video and I'll overlay it on top of this one, but I'll still narrate it as I'm working. So what I have now is another laptop, and I'm recording the desktop here to basically show the entire screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open and turn on my SSID, and I'm going to not connect to Alpha. I want to connect to, waiting for it to refresh, this global, oh, wait a second. I did not do one thing. So let's come back here real quick. So first things first, now that I've created this WLAN and I've applied it to the different nodes, I need to go ahead and add it to the AP groups. So we're going to go ahead and go into the campus A and add the guest. So we'll add this little guy here. Let me drop this window down. I don't know why it goes up like that. And hit submit. I'll do the same thing in campus B. Go ahead and add the WLAN. We'll click on, whoops, this. There we go. And I apply the changes, and then the SSID will start to broadcast. Okay, so just to be thorough, I'm going to go back to the dashboard, go to my access points, check on VMCA, and make sure that I eventually see the guest SSIDs show up, which I do. So now my global guest SSID is now broadcasting. So now, excuse me, I can come over to this machine here. So I am on the guest SSID. You can also see if I go to clients that there is a user on there on the global guest. Let me close this window here so you can see that I'm on the global guest logon. That is essentially how you create your guest SSID. Again, if you're using ClearPass, there's some subtle differences there, but generally speaking, you can pick one or the other. You can use the internal or you can use ClearPass, but there's a lot more flexibility and control by using ClearPass, obviously. And then finally, the last bit of check, you can see I have my global guest SSID that's now broadcasting as well. So if you have any questions on setting up your guest SSID, certainly reach out to the online help forums at community.arubanetworks.com, or you can reach out to your local Aruba SE or partner. Thank you.